Welcome back to the sewing tutorial of our corset. As you can see, my fabric line in place all together. I have gone ahead to cut out my fabric and I place SA on them, black fusible interfacing. That is what I use, an SA that I've been using. If you have been following me, you can see my SA which I've used to place down. And as you can see, from this point down to this point and this up here, all what I have here is 0.5 inch. I have my 0.5 inch everywhere, just like this, 0.5 inch for here. And at this down, there is nothing like sewing allowance at this down. As I told you earlier, you can see I did not put anything at all here. And if you take a close look at my upper yoke, you can see 0.5 inch at the down part, 0.5 inch at the armhole part, then 0.5 inch at the shoulder. And if you come to the back, as you can see, the back, this side 0.5 inch, 0.5 inch down here, 0.5 inch, and at the upper part also you can see my 0.5 inch which I have placed down. And as you can see, my pattern is set, good and ready to go. So what I'm going to do next, for this not to be difficult for you to sew, what you need to do now is to make sure you notch this your lines just like what I want to do right now. So what you are going to do is to make sure you notch your lines just like this. So you can see my lines which I have here to my balls that cross over to this side. I'm going to come over to this other side as well and give it a notch just like this. So this is how I am going to do this part also. I'm also going to notch here with my scissors. Let me just go ahead to do it for you to see. So I'm also going to go ahead to do it just like this. So after notching this other part also, you see this my line. This my line came up to this edge here. You can see my line here. So what I'm going to do also is to notch here as well, so that when sewing, it enables me to find where it is supposed to pass through when sewing. And at this other part also, I'm going to put my notch there for me to know that this part is going to sew onto this part like this. When sewing, it's supposed to be like this to sew. So what I'm going to do now is to keep my front and back aside, and I'm going to work with these two parts. So this is my front and back being kept aside. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to work with these two parts. These two parts is the part I'm going to work with. So let me go ahead to bring my wadding for you to see. So this is my wadding which I have here. As you can see, this is my wadding. And what I'm going to do now is to take these pins off just like this. Put it very safe aside, because you are still going to make use of it. Then carry our fabrics just like this, and we are going to place it like this on the. We're going to place it just like this. So once being placed like this, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to press it iron so it stick to this my wadding. So let me go ahead to do that, and I come back to show you what to do next. So you can see I have gone ahead to do the necessary work. I have gone ahead to cut out my lining also. You can see every one of this. I cut out my lining for all of this. You can see my lining being cut out for everything. So what I want to show you now is how to join your front. So let me shift this outside and come back to show you how to join this. Okay, so you can see what I have here right now. So this is my front. Why I label this 1, 2, 3, and 4, it is because of this right process which I have here right now. So what I'm going to do now to join this, you can see I notched this line here. This line has been notched. This line has also been notched, as you can see. This one as well has been notched, and this one as well has been notched. Both on the lining too. If you take a close look at the lining, you will see my notches here. So this will enable you to be able to fix it correctly. So what you are going to do now for this, you are going to indicate your bad side, which is, this is the bad side. This is the bad side. So this is what I want to show you on how to go about this. So after marking that, what I'm going to do, because this is 3 and this is 4, how we are going to join this is by joining it like this. You're going to join it simply like this. So you can see what I have here. This is the right side facing right side with this notch which I have here. So what I'm going to do now is to sew from this down part 0.5 inch, going to sew it up till this point, then take it upward and sew. That is the same way I'm going to sew this one, just like this, sewing from this point up to this end. And I'll do the same thing for my lining. So let me go ahead to do it because the work has already started. So let me go ahead to do it and I'll come back to show you on how it looks. So you can see I've gone ahead to sew this part and I also went ahead to sew the lining. Now keep this aside first and focus on the front and back. So what I'll do now is to take out my patterns. As you can see, I'm going ahead to take out my patterns so I'll be able to sew this together. So you can see me taking it out like this. So what we are going to do, because this is for the back and this is my lining also for the back, so what we are going to do now is to open this just like this for our center front and our side front. So this is how it is going to be. So what you are going to do next now is to fold there like this and you sew 0.5 inch up to this level, fold there like this again and sew 0.5 inch up to this level like this. So we keep this aside and come over to our front just like this. You do the same thing which we did, I told you. Going to do the same thing which I told you, just like this. So 0.5 inch upward, so 0.5 inch, 0.5 inch, just like this. And keep this one outside. So for our back, what you are going to do for our back as well is our center back and this is our side back. So this is what we have for our side for the back. So you can see how it looks. So what I'm going to do now is to put this like this and we are going to sew. You can see, let me show you through the pattern for you to understand what I'm talking about. You can see this is our side back. So you sew. So you are going to sew here like this and turn it over like this. And this other part as well, you are going to sew this part and turn it like this. You are still going to do the same thing for our back. This one as well is our back. Still going to do the same thing with your lining for the back. So make sure you are working with your patterns in case so you don't get confused. All these your patterns are very important for you to work with so you don't get confused when doing yours. So go ahead to work with your patterns so you don't get confused on how to go about this. So let me go ahead and do this other part and I'll come back to show you on how to go. So as you can see, I have gone ahead to iron my front. After sewing, I went ahead to iron it open and you can see my back as well. You can see my back as well. I went on to iron it. You can see this is my front for the lining, which I did the same for the ironing. You can see my back for the lining as well. I went ahead to iron and this is my center front which I want to iron and I have gone ahead to give it a notch to enable it to be smooth when ironing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make use of my ball and I'm going to sprinkle my water just like this. Remember, I have a video on how to make your ironing ball, so go ahead to watch that video so you can have something like this to make your work easier for you to do in case you have not watched the video. And please, if you have come up to this level, please don't forget to like this video if you find it interesting. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe in case you have not done that already. So this is what you are going to do. So let me just go ahead to do this. Okay, so since I've gone ahead to do this for my front, what I'm going to do now is time to place my bias on this. In whichever way I place to place it, it all depends on your style. So I'm going to follow my style which I'm working with to place my bias. One will be here, one will be here, and one at the middle like this. I'm still going to place another one here and place another one here. So let me go ahead to place my bias and come back and show you what it looks like. I have gone ahead to sew my bias as I told you. So what I'm going to do now is to fix this other part. So this is the side which is bigger than this side. So this is the front which is facing this smaller part, and this is facing this side. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make sure this my sewing allowance here meets up with this other one at this side here. So you can go ahead to pin it round and making sure this your notch meets up this other one here, making sure this your notch which I notch here and this one meets up this one here. So go ahead to pin it round and do the same for this other part. You are still going to do the same for your lining and go ahead to sew it. So let me go ahead to do that and sew it for you to see. So I have gone ahead to sew it. So right now you can take off your pins from the both parts. So make sure when putting your pins, as I told you earlier, make sure you locate this your thread line that you will see at this top here. This your line that runs through down here. That's your line. Make sure it is meeting this other one at this other part. Make sure it is meeting this other one where you place that you pin, and make sure you be careful when sewing it. Even if you go ahead to sew it and it went wrong, please do well to lose it back and sew again, making sure it is meeting that your line so you can get a good work. So I wish you good luck on that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to iron it. So let me just go ahead to iron it. So without wasting much of your time, let me just go off and iron it. So you can see I have gone ahead to iron it, and when you want to iron this, take a look at how it looks like. You can see my ironing is facing outside. So take a look at this other part here. When I went ahead to top stitch, because I run a top stitch on this part from here to this end. So just go ahead to look where it is sitting. It is facing outside. So when you want to iron, don't iron inside so it won't give you an issue. Just go ahead to iron it to face outside. So this is my front which I have here, and this is my back. So remember I told you we are going to use a yoke on this. So you can as well use it like this. If you don't want to use yoke, just go ahead to sew your lining on it. But in this case we are going to use yoke for this. So this is our yoke which I'm going to use. So what I will do for this yoke now is to make sure this sits at, because here is my midpoint of my yoke. So I'm going to put it at the center part of this. So what I'm going to do is to sew my yoke first. Make sure I sew my yoke from this center part down to this end, and sew it down to this end before attaching my lining on it. So I will go ahead to do that. But let's come over to our back. So for the back now, I'm going to split my center. Remember it is unfold. So I will go ahead to split it in two. So you can see what I have there. So, and also this one also, I will go ahead to split it. So you can see what I have there. So for our back, this is in two. So what we are going to do for our back, because our back is going to look like this. So what I'm going to do for our back, so my back, this is my neckline for my back. It is going to be like this. And I'm also going to sew on it like this. Sew down to this end. going to sew my back, then I will turn it out like this. So I'm also going to do the same thing for this other part of my back. Sew it like that, then as well go ahead to join my lining on it. So let me go ahead to do all of this as I just showed you and come back to show you what it looks. You can see what we have here. As I told you, I have gone ahead to put my yoke on it, and I went ahead to put my lining. So you can see how neat it looks, very neat and nice. So what we are going to do now, because after sewing my lining inside, I have taken away 0.5 inch. So what is left for me here for my joint allowance is 1.5. So what I'm going to do now is to put this like this, and I'm going to sew 1.5 inch downward, and this other part as well. I'm going to put it like this and sew 1.5 inch downward. So let me go ahead to do that, then come back to show you what to do next. Okay, so I have joined my side as you can see. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to close my zipper allowance by 1.5 inch. So I'm still going to close my zipper allowance by 1.5 inch, because after sewing 0.5 inch for this part to turn it inside, it's now became 1.5. So I'm going to sew 1.5 inch downward. So let me go ahead to do that before I trim my armhole.